The ballroom of the Grand Hudson Hotel glittered like a monument to excess. Crystal chandeliers hung low from the vaulted ceiling, scattering warm light across marble floors polished to a mirror sheen. Waiters in tailored black suits moved in practiced silence between round tables dressed in ivory linen, each centerpiece a perfect arrangement of white roses and gold-trimmed candles. The elite of Manhattan had gathered for what was meant to be the most anticipated pre-wedding banquet of the year. Just before everything collapses. Take a moment to subscribe to Riker Malou. On this channel, we tell powerful stories about billionaires, betrayal, hidden strength, and unexpected love. Stories where the underestimated rise and the truth always wins. If this story has you hooked, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with Riker Malou, because what happens next doesn't just change the story. It changes everything. Now, let's continue. At the center of it all sat Nathan Cole. Founder and CEO of Cole Quantis Group, Nathan was a billionaire whose name once commanded respect in every major financial district in the world. From Wall Street to London, Singapore to Dubai, his empire had been built on ruthless precision and unmatched vision. Tonight, he wore a custom charcoal suit, perfectly pressed, tailored to sit flawlessly as he remained seated in his wheelchair at the head table. Cameras hovered. Phones were raised discreetly. Whispers traveled like electricity. Nathan's posture was calm, composed, unreadable. Years earlier, a near-fatal car accident had taken his ability to walk, but not, until recently, his authority. Tonight was meant to silence lingering doubts. Tonight was supposed to be proof that Nathan Cole was still untouchable. Beside him stood Olivia Hart. Beautiful, elegant, cold. Olivia was dressed in a champagne-colored gown that hugged her figure with deliberate grace. Her diamond necklace caught the chandelier light, throwing sharp reflections across the room. She smiled at the crowd as she accepted the microphone handed to her by the event host. Applause followed. The room settled into expectant silence. Nathan looked up at her, his expression neutral, trusting. Olivia inhaled slowly, then laughed lightly into the microphone. "I suppose," she began, her voice smooth and amplified, "this is the part where I'm expected to talk about love, commitment, and forever." A ripple of polite laughter moved through the guests. She turned her gaze toward Nathan. "But I've realized something," she continued, her tone shifting, sharpening. "Marrying a man who can't even stand on his own isn't exactly the future I envisioned." The laughter died instantly. Nathan felt the silence crash down like a physical force. His hands tightened subtly against the armrests of his wheelchair. Olivia didn't stop. "For years, I convinced myself that power and money could make up for what was missing," she said. "But pretending doesn't change reality. Nathan isn't a strong man. He's broken." Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Nathan's vision narrowed. The chandeliers blurred. Every sound felt distant, muffled beneath the pounding of his pulse. He looked around, at the executives, investors, and social elites who had once bowed to his presence. Some stared in shock. Others avoided his eyes. Olivia placed the microphone back on its stand. "I won't chain my life to weakness," she said flatly. "This engagement is over." She turned and walked away, heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Cameras flashed. Murmurs erupted. The room dissolved into chaos as guests rose from their seats, whispers escalating into open speculation. Nathan remained still. He did not chase her. He did not speak. He did not react. But in that moment, something far more devastating than humiliation took place. The next morning, financial news outlets exploded. Billionaire CEO abandoned at own engagement. Is Nathan Cole still fit to lead? Disability, power, and the fall of a titan. Cole Quantis Group stock dropped 12% before markets even closed. Investors pulled back. Board members panicked. Long-standing allies went silent. Inside the glass tower headquarters overlooking the Hudson River, tension thickened the air. Executives gathered in private conference rooms, voices low, alliances shifting. For the first time in years, Nathan sensed fear, not from enemies, but from within his own organization. 3 days later, Nathan sat alone in his penthouse office, city lights glowing beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Legal documents lay scattered across his desk. Unanswered messages stacked endlessly on his phone. A soft knock broke the silence. "Come in," Nathan said. Daniel Reed, his longtime vice chairman and most trusted confidant, entered quietly. Daniel's expression was grave, his usual composure strained. "We're bleeding influence," Daniel said bluntly. 3 board members are already in talks with outside investors. They smell vulnerability. Nathan exhaled slowly. "Let them. They won't stop there," Daniel replied. "Olivia's narrative is spreading. They're framing you as unstable, unfit." Nathan's jaw tightened. "There's one move left," Daniel said after a pause. Nathan looked up. "I'm listening. A contract marriage." The words hung in the air. Daniel continued, "Public optics. Stability. A wife who stands beside you, visible, unwavering. Someone outside our circles. No history. No agenda." Nathan laughed bitterly. "You want me to replace her?" "I want you to survive," Daniel said. "And so does the company." Hours later, across town in a cramped Brooklyn apartment, Amara Blake stared at her overdue bills spread across a scratched kitchen table. Her phone buzzed with yet another Visa warning email. As an architectural translator consulting for international firms, she had talent, but talent didn't erase debt. When an unknown number called, she almost ignored it. Almost. That single decision would change everything. Amara Blake arrived at Cole Quanta's group headquarters on a rainy Monday, clutching a folder that held the last of her official documents. Visa notices, unpaid invoices, and a lease renewal she couldn't afford. The glass tower rose like a blade above Midtown, its lobby all stone, steel, and silent authority. She expected security to turn her away. Instead, the guard checked her name and waved her through. An assistant met her at the elevator. "Ms. Blake, Mr. Reed is expecting you." The elevator climbed fast. Amara kept her face calm, but her stomach tightened with each floor. She had translated for wealthy clients before, but this was different. This was Nathan Cole, the billionaire everyone in New York had been talking about since Olivia Hart's public exit. The doors opened to a private corridor. Daniel Reed waited near a conference room, suit immaculate. "Thank you for coming on short notice," he said. "I'm here because you said it was urgent," Amara replied. "And because I don't like surprises." "Then you'll appreciate honesty," Daniel said. "This meeting is about an offer. A contract. 1 year." He guided her into the room. The space was too clean, too expensive. Dark wood table, leather chairs, skyline framed like art in the window. At the far end sat Nathan Cole. He looked exactly like the photographs. Controlled, handsome in a severe way, expression carved from stone. His wheelchair was matte black, custom-built. His suit jacket rested perfectly, as if the chair were an extension of him rather than a limitation. Amara met his gaze without flinching. "Mr. Cole." "Nathan," he corrected, voice low. "If you accept, the public will call you my wife. That won't work if you address me like a stranger." Amara's brows rose. "I don't accept anything I haven't heard." Daniel slid a document across the table. "Terms are straightforward. You become Mrs. Cole for 12 months. Public appearances, limited interviews, controlled events. No intimacy required. Your privacy protected by non-disclosure. In return, the company covers your legal issues, housing, and security. You receive a lump sum settlement at the end." Amara scanned the first page. The numbers made her throat tighten. "This is a lot." "It needs to be," Nathan said. "It will cost you more than money." Amara looked up. "And what does it cost you?" Nathan's eyes flickered, something darker passing through. "Stability, leverage, time, and a narrative," Daniel added. Olivia turned his injury into a headline. "We'll turn it into a footnote." Amara leaned back, thinking. Her visa clock was ticking. Still, something in her resisted the idea of becoming an accessory. "You barely know me," she said. "That is the point," Nathan replied. "No ties to my world. No history to exploit." Amara's fingers tapped the document. "What if your world decides to exploit me anyway?" Nathan's voice stayed even. "Then they will learn quickly what happens when they miscalculate." Daniel said, "You speak 3 languages. You keep your head under pressure. And your background is clean." "Clean," Amara repeated, dry. "Like a product." Nathan's gaze sharpened. "No. Like a risk assessment. This is not romance. It's survival." Amara exhaled slowly. 1 year. Full legal protection. Housing. Security. Settlement. And an attorney of your choosing, paid by us, to review every clause, Daniel said. "You sign nothing today." Amara closed the folder. "I'll have it reviewed. But I want one thing added." Nathan lifted his chin. "Name it." "Autonomy," she said. "I will not be paraded like a trophy. If I'm doing this, I'm doing it with dignity. I choose what I wear, how I speak, and I will not lie to make anyone comfortable." Daniel's eyes widened slightly, but Nathan studied her with new interest. "You'll still follow the media plan," Nathan said. "I'll follow a plan," Amara corrected, "as long as it doesn't require me to become someone else." For a moment the room was silent except for rain tapping the window. Then Nathan nodded once. "Agreed," he said. 2 weeks later, New York woke to a headline. Nathan Cole had married a consultant from Brooklyn. A single photo circulated, Nathan in a dark suit, Amara in an ivory dress, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. The story shifted from collapse to curiosity. Inside the company, the reaction was colder. On Amara's first day at the tower as Mrs. Cole, executives smiled too widely and offered compliments that felt like insults. One man, Victor Kim, chief operations officer, shook her hand with calculated gentleness. "We're honored," Kim said, eyes lingering as if measuring her price. Amara smiled back. "I'm sure." Nathan watched from beside her, expression unreadable, but Amara sensed the tension in his stillness. This wasn't a welcome. It was a test. Later, in Nathan's private office, Amara found him staring at a screen filled with market data. "They don't respect you," she said quietly. "They don't need to," Nathan replied. "They need to obey." Amara stepped closer, studying the numbers. "Your reports don't match." Nathan's eyes cut to her. "Explain." Amara pointed. "These projections assume 0 leakage. But your expense lines are inflated in the same departments that claim efficiency. Someone is padding costs and blaming the market." Nathan's face tightened. "That's an accusation." "It's math," Amara said. For the first time since she'd met him, Nathan looked unsettled, not weak, but forced to consider a truth he hadn't wanted to see. Amara folded her arms. "You can't rebuild an empire on denial. If you want this marriage to save you, stop acting like you're the only one bleeding." Nathan stared at her a long moment. Then he reached for his phone. "Daniel," he said into the receiver, voice controlled. "Pull internal audits for operations, procurement, and security contracts. Quietly. And bring Mrs. Cole every report." Amara's pulse steadied. The contract had been about appearances. Outside the city kept moving, still unaware. But in that office, with rain still streaking the glass and a billionaire finally listening, something else began. The charity gala at the Metropolitan Arts Center was designed to be a spectacle. Marble staircases draped in white silk led into a ballroom glowing with gold light, where New York's elite gathered beneath vaulted ceilings and enormous chandeliers. Every detail had been calculated, every invitation hand-delivered, every guest vetted. This was not just an event. It was a statement. Nathan Cole arrived precisely on time. Cameras turned instantly. Conversations paused. Heads followed as he entered the hall in his wheelchair, dressed in a midnight blue tuxedo, posture straight, expression unreadable. At his side walked Amara Cole, calm and composed in a deep emerald gown. Her hand rested lightly on his shoulder, not possessive, not performative, simply present. The effect was immediate. Whispers rippled through the crowd, but the tone was different now. Curious. Uncertain. Respectful. Executives who had avoided Nathan weeks earlier approached with practiced smiles. Investors inclined their heads. The narrative was shifting, exactly as Daniel Reed had predicted. But Amara felt it wasn't enough. Optics alone wouldn't protect Nathan tonight. She could feel the tension in him as they moved through the room. His hand tightened briefly against the armrest. "They're watching," he said quietly. "They always are," Amara replied. "Tonight, we let them see what they've been underestimating." Across the ballroom, Victor Kim stood near the bar, speaking with two board members. His smile never reached his eyes. When his gaze landed on Amara, it lingered a second too long before he turned away. Amara made a mental note. As the evening progressed, Amara guided conversations with careful precision. When a reporter asked about Nathan's health, she answered without hesitation. "Leadership isn't measured in steps," she said evenly. "It's measured in vision. Nathan hasn't lost that." When a donor implied the company might be unstable, Amara smiled. "Volatility is what happens when people mistake silence for weakness." Nathan listened, surprised. Each response was firm, controlled, impossible to twist. For the first time since the banquet humiliation, he felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Pride. The program reached its midpoint when the lights dimmed and the host stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "please welcome Nathan Cole, founder of Cole Quantis Group." Applause rose. Stronger than expected. Nathan hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then he nodded to Amara. She squeezed his shoulder once and stepped back as he rolled forward. Nathan didn't speak long. He didn't need to. "Thank you," he said into the microphone, "for being here, for believing that innovation, integrity, and resilience are not temporary traits. They are foundations." The applause deepened. As Nathan finished, Amara noticed movement near the side entrance. Security shifted. A man brushed past a waiter, head down, moving too fast. Her instincts sharpened. "Nathan," she said softly, stepping closer. "We need to move." "What?" he asked. The first explosion shattered the far end of the hall. Glass burst outward. Screams tore through the room as shockwaves rippled across marble floors. Guests dropped, tables overturned, alarms blared. Smoke filled the air, thick and acrid. Security surged forward, shouting orders. Another blast echoed, closer this time. Nathan froze, instincts colliding with reality. Amara didn't. She moved instantly, positioning herself between Nathan and the chaos, gripping the back of his chair as security tried to pull her away. "Mrs. Cole, we need to evacuate," an agent yelled. "No," Amara snapped. "Not without him." "Nathan's the target," another voice shouted. "We separate." Amara cut him off. "You separate, you lose control. You move him, I stay." Nathan looked up at her, eyes sharp. "Amara, I'm not leaving," she said. Her voice was steady, unshaking. "Not now. Not ever." Gunfire cracked near the entrance. People screamed again. Somewhere, someone shouted Victor Kim's name. Daniel Reed appeared through the smoke, blood streaked across his sleeve. "It's Kim," he shouted. "He tried to pull security contracts last week. We didn't move fast enough." A masked man lunged from behind a column. Security tackled him before he could raise the weapon. The crowd pressed back as officers swarmed the room, weapons drawn. Amara didn't move. She stood there, one hand on Nathan's shoulder, the other gripping the chair, her body a barrier in plain sight. Cameras caught everything, her refusal to retreat, her calm amid the chaos, Nathan's steady gaze locked forward. When the final threat was neutralized, silence fell heavy over the wrecked ballroom. Nathan exhaled slowly. Paramedics rushed in. Police secured exits. Guests whispered in disbelief. Victor Kim was dragged out in handcuffs, face twisted with rage. As he passed Nathan, he spat, "You should have stayed broken." Nathan looked at him coldly. "You mistook patience for blindness." Kim was gone. Outside, flashing lights painted the night red and blue. News vans arrived within minutes. Reporters shouted questions, microphones thrust forward. Nathan turned to Amara. "You could have run." She met his gaze. "So could you." Something shifted then. Not optics. Not strategy. Trust. In the days that followed, the truth unraveled quickly. Kim's accounts were exposed. Shell companies traced. A network of executives tied to market manipulation and a rival firm, one linked to Olivia Hart's new fiancé, was dismantled publicly. Powe Quanti's group stock rebounded. Inside the tower, loyalty realigned. Board members who had wavered reaffirmed support. The empire stabilized. One evening, Nathan sat in his office as Amara reviewed a proposal on her tablet. "You saved my life," he said quietly. Amara didn't look up. "No. I stood beside it." Nathan watched her for a long moment. "Why?" She finally met his eyes. "Because I don't believe broken things are disposable." Outside, the city pulsed on, unaware that a turning point had already passed. And for the first time in a long time, Nathan Cole believed her. The city felt different after the gala. Not louder, not softer, just steadier. From the windows of the Powe Quanti's tower, Manhattan stretched endlessly, alive with motion and ambition. Nathan Cole sat at his desk, reviewing final documents with a focus he hadn't felt in years. The storm had passed. What remained was clarity. Across from him, Amara stood near the window, sunlight catching the edges of her hair as she studied a digital blueprint on her tablet. Since the gala, she had moved through the building differently, not as a guest, not as a shield, but as a presence that belonged. Victor Kim's removal triggered a chain reaction. Executives tied to him resigned quietly. Others were terminated after internal audits revealed years of manipulation. Within weeks, Powe Quanti's group announced a restructuring plan that stunned analysts. Transparency replaced secrecy. Oversight replaced blind loyalty. Markets responded favorably. For the first time since the banquet humiliation, headlines carried a different tone. Billionaire CEO leads corporate revival. Resilience redefined at Powe Quanti's. Nathan read them without satisfaction. Reputation mattered, but not the way it used to. "What are you thinking about?" Amara asked, breaking the silence. Nathan closed the file. "The contract ends in 3 months." Amara nodded slowly. "I know. I want to renegotiate," he said. She turned, studying him carefully. "With lawyers?" "No," Nathan said. "With honesty." Amara walked closer, setting her tablet aside. "Then be honest." Nathan inhaled. "I don't want this to end as a transaction." The words hung between them, heavier than any legal clause. Amara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she moved to sit across from him, lowering herself into the chair with deliberate calm. "You're not afraid of losing control anymore." "I already did," Nathan replied. "And I survived it." That was true. Somewhere between betrayal and explosions, between media scrutiny and quiet late nights, the fear that once defined him had loosened its grip. Amara's own life had changed too. With financial stability secured, she'd launched Blake Accessible Design, an architectural firm focused on luxury spaces built without barriers. Her first project, a high-end residential complex in Brooklyn, received national attention. She wasn't dependent anymore. "That matters," Amara said quietly. "I need to know that whatever comes next isn't built on rescue or obligation." Nathan met her gaze. "It's built on choice." Weeks passed. Their dynamic shifted subtly. Conversations grew longer. Silences became comfortable. They stopped pretending the marriage was merely functional. Nathan found himself waiting for Amara's opinions before making decisions, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. One evening, as the city glowed gold at sunset, Nathan asked her to join him for dinner. No cameras, no staff, no agenda. Just them. At a quiet restaurant overlooking the Hudson, Nathan spoke without rehearsing. "I spent years believing my worth ended where my legs failed," he said. Olivia just said it out loud. Amara listened, uninterrupting. "You didn't fix me," Nathan continued. "You reminded me I was never broken." Amara reached across the table, taking his hand. "I didn't marry a billionaire. I married a man who had forgotten himself." That night, something unspoken became understood. 2 months later, Nathan called Daniel Reed into his office. "I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations," Nathan said calmly. "You'll oversee execution." Daniel blinked. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Nathan replied. "Leadership isn't micromanagement. It's direction." Later that evening, Nathan invited Amara to the rooftop terrace of his penthouse. Candles lined the space. The skyline shimmered beyond glass railings. "This isn't a press stunt," Nathan said. "No contracts. No clauses." He reached into his jacket and produced a simple ring. Elegant. Unbranded. "I don't want a wife for optics," he said. "I want a partner. Someone who stays because she chooses to." Amara's breath caught, not from surprise, but from recognition. She didn't answer right away. Then she smiled. "Yes. But this time, we do it our way." They married quietly weeks later, followed by a reception, not grand, not televised, but intentional. Executives attended alongside architects, engineers, and people who had never set foot in a ballroom before. No speeches about power. Only promises. In the months that followed, Cole Quante's group expanded its accessibility initiatives, partnering with Amara's firm on multiple projects. Nathan became an outspoken advocate for inclusive leadership, not as charity, but as strategy. The empire thrived. One afternoon, Nathan rolled through a construction site with Amara beside him. Workers nodded respectfully. Plans unfolded around them. "This started as survival," Nathan said. "Now it feels like purpose." Amara smiled. "That's the difference between ownership and partnership." As the sun dipped low over the city, Nathan realized something simple and profound. He had not rebuilt his empire alone. He had rebuilt himself, with someone who never saw him as less. And in choosing each other freely, without contracts or fear, they had created something stronger than power. They had created trust. The city continued to move, unaware that the quietest revolutions often leave no explosions behind, only foundations that endure.